Yeah,
We're on.
We're on.
Hi.
We're waiting. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to Real Talk with Kim and Michelle. I'm Michelle Plassick, Remax Realty Advantage.
And I'm Kim Malden, Remax Realty Advantage. And we are so busy, we don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. That's
Today
a
we're
good problem.
talking about first-time home sellers.
Yep.
Yeah, a little different than first-time home buyer. You hear
Yeah.
that often, but
A
you
lot.
don't hear very much the wording first-time home seller. But
True.
it really makes a difference whether you've been in your house 1 year or 42 years.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the first time, there are some things that
Yeah.
you don't know about, or
Sorry,
that are
y'all.
going to be a surprise.
Yes, because you've only been through the buy process once,
Mm-hmm.
but you've never actually had to get your home ready to sell, know what the fees were, because as a buyer, your fees were very different.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
I
a
think
whole
that's the
different animal.
biggest surprise is the
Yes.
cost to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the rule of thumb is it's going to cost you anywhere between 7 and 10% of your sales price.
Yes.
And how we figure that is typically the standard real estate brokerage fee is 6%. That is split. The
Mhm.
listing agent will split that 6% and give half of it to whoever brings the buyer,
Mhm.
and that goes to the buyer's broker, and then the brokers decide how that gets divided up to the
Right.
agents. So that is pretty standard in the industry, is that 6%. And then in addition to that, there's other costs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There are other costs.
Mhm.
Getting your house ready for market, the taxes that you're going to owe for the time that you had the house.
That's another big surprise, is that they realize, oh yeah, I got to pay for those taxes
Yep.
from January 1st until the day of closing. The thing is even though it's being escrowed by your mortgage company, you're paying
Mhm.
that $400 or $300 a month, and the lender is holding that and going to pay it at the end of the year. At the closing, you actually have to pay for that, and
Yeah.
then you get reimbursed by your mortgage company, and that's a
Mhm.
very big surprise to
It
everybody.
is. So I'm going to go back to commission for a little bit, because
Yeah.
we do research on these topics. It's not, a lot of it we know, and we read these things. We're like, yep, got all that. But this is something that someone else wrote, and I would like to read it to y'all if you don't mind. So, don't expect a full service agent to discount. Getting into a contract is only the beginning. You need to make it all the way to closing. Your home will not sell itself, despite what you may read or hear on the propensity of real estate websites to make this process appear as easy as the click of a mouse. It's not. You don't know what you don't know.
So true.
Do not try to pit agents against each other to compete for commission, or you'll increase the chances you'll end up with a weasel. You don't deserve a weasel. I just thought that was so funny, but it is so true.
It is true. And we have a list that sometimes we give out to our clients that say 101 types of turbulence throughout the transaction, from the day you sign the contract to the day it closes.
Yes.
There are 101 different things that can go wrong,
Yes,
and probably more.
more.
It
Finding the
takes
buyer isn't the hard part.
No, that's the easy part.
Yeah, it's getting it all the way to closing, because there are so many things that can happen.
Mm-hmm. So back to some of the. Are we going to go that route, or are we going to go into more of the?
Well, there was a lot of interesting stuff, and I mean, there's a lot to know, and we could probably do like a series of videos on this.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we'd just touch on some of the highlights.
Okay, go ahead. You start.
Okay. So when you're hiring an agent, us, make sure that they're going to get professional photography done.
Yes.
And don't tell them, well, photography is my hobby, I'm going to do it myself. Because real estate photography is different than, taking a picture of your pets or your yard or your friends.
Mm-hmm. That is so important, because I don't know about you, Kim,
my
but
gosh.
sometimes you see pictures on the websites on MLS, and you think, isn't the seller looking at
I
those
know.
pictures, and don't they see how
Yes.
bad those pictures are?
Yes.
And the agents are just going, and I'm not trying to badmouth anyone, but this is our profession, and
Yes.
we take great pride in it. Kim and I do, and have the professional photographer come. Now, there are times when maybe you've got a good camera and you can take good, decent pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and we know that it's going to sell like within a
True.
week, a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes there are those
True.
times when I will just use my regular
camera.
Yeah.
Right. If we have a listing that we know isn't going to be on the market for more than a day, then yeah. there's no point in spending that money when we're going to take good pictures. But I looked at one listing where it was a land listing, and the woman took pictures with her iPhone, and I knew that it was a woman because I could see her reflection in the car window. She didn't even bother to roll down the car window before she used her iPhone to take pictures of the land. So it's terrible, but it's true. So that's the other point is when your listing is up, review it.
Yes.
Look at it. Make sure that you're satisfied with it. And by the way, you know your house better than we ever will. So if you see an error in there, let us know so that we can make sure that it gets corrected.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
So something else that I notice is, sellers are always like, well, I have to sell my house in the spring because that's when it's the best time to sell. NAR reported that buyer traffic was higher in August, September, and October of 2017 than it was in the spring or summer. I thought that was really quite a phenomenon. And
NAR, by the way, is the National Association of
Thank you.
Realtors.
Yes. Sorry, foreign language sometimes. So anyways, I thought that was really interesting because, there really is, you can sell your house at any time of year. And I thought that was a great statistic because we do have buyers out there year round.
Yes, we really do. One thing that I think is very important when you're a first-time home seller, you don't think about how you're going to do this. Like, am I going to find a house first? Lots of times people will say, I found a house that I like, I really want to buy this house, and I need to have a house to sell. In today's market, that's a little difficult to do because traditionally, years ago, if you found a house, you could always just write a contract and make it contingent upon the sale of your current home. That's not what's going to happen nowadays because we have so few houses for sale that it is a seller's market. So you almost have to sell your house first.
Yes. You do have to expect to be inconvenienced a little.
Yeah. And so
More than
most
a little.
likely you have to think about that ahead of time. Do I have access to temporary housing? Am I going to go in a hotel? The cost of going into a hotel for a while or a place for 3 months while you're looking.
A short-term lease, or do your
Storage.
parents live in town? Can you stay with them? You've got siblings, whatever the case may be.
Yep. The storage fees, and moving twice. Those are expenses.
Well, with the pods, you don't necessarily have to move twice, but you are going to have to be decisive if you're doing like a pod situation. It means that you're going to give yourself from day, this day to this day to find the house. So, yeah. You will have to expect to be inconvenienced because really it's so hard to do that now the way they used to be able to.
Right. So the only other option is if you were able to pay cash for a house. I just was counseling someone the other day about this because they did own their home free and clear. And so even though it was their first time that they were going to be selling a house, they had been in it for a very long time. And they owned it free and clear. So I said, well, we could always take a mortgage out on this house so that you have the cash available, you can buy that house, and then we can move slowly into it.
Right.
So that is an option as well. But talk to your realtor about that because you have to decide that up front.
Yeah, and there is more than one way to skin a cat. So we do have some resources available. So this was a good one that I read. The guy said, nobody knows my house better than I do, so I'm going to give people the tour when they come to see it. Don't be at your house when you have showings, please. It is so awkward for buyers. And this particular gentleman realized that really quickly. Sometimes buyers are not nice. And when it comes time to getting feedback online, if you were there for the showing, it may hurt a little to get that feedback. And it makes it really difficult for buyers to picture themselves in your home.
Right.
Because with you there, it's still your home.
And just think about it, put the shoe on the other foot. When you're looking at a house yourself, you're going to want the freedom to go around and look at it with a fine-tooth comb and maybe comment about, look at all the shoes they have.
Right? Yeah. And then I guess the last one we'll touch on before we go is there was another article that a gentleman had poured his heart and soul into fixing up his house, and he got a lowball offer, and he was really angry by it. And his realtor explained, sometimes people on a limited budget are just trying to push the envelope. So if you get that lowball offer, don't be offended by it. Realize that sometimes people's financial restrictions and their idea of what they want in their home don't always line up. And you may get an offer that's lower, and if you're not going to accept it, that's fine. But don't get offended by it.
It's not personal.
No,
it's
it's
business. It really is business, and you have to remember that everybody's trying to get a good deal.
Yes.
The buyers are always, you know how you love those sales when you go to the store, right? You
Yeah.
love it when the car's on sale. You love it when the
Yeah.
dress is on sale, whatever. So people are going to try to get that bargain.
Absolutely. So, all right, y'all. Well, thanks so much for joining us,
Yeah, it
and
was great.
yeah, we'll see you next Wednesday.